Hello, friends, and welcome to Figure Study, where I'm dipping a toe into Cyberverse for the first time. Despite having not a bunch, but a few RID figures, which are kind of the simpler kiddie line of Transformers, I opted to get myself something a bit more recent in the form of Cyberverse Spark Armor Cheetor. I'm not going to be getting all the figures in the line or anything like that. There's like maybe one or two others that I'm a little bit tempted by, but I'm not going to be getting a bunch of Cyberverse figures. So if you're looking forward to that or if you're dreading that, then sorry and don't worry, respectively. Some of them I do think the Spark Armor gimmick is actually kind of neat, and it just seems kind of fun. And Cheetor here is no exception, really. I mean, it's definitely a simpler toy. It's definitely the for kids, which is just a silly thing because aside from like the masterpiece and third-party stuff, like all Transformers are for kids. But anyway, yeah, it's simpler. Yeah, it's missing some paint apps. Yeah, the plastic's a little bit thinner than what we're used to with, say, Siege or Studio Series, but it's not that bad. And some of the stuff that they've done is actually really cool. Case in point, Cheetor here. And his little Spark Armor buddy, Sea Fury, which is a big old battleship with fists sticking out of the front and back. And this thing is kind of goofy looking. It's definitely got some lumps all over the place, and you can totally see the armor head on the inside there. But for what it is, it's fine, and it's got some nice blue on the underside, which, it's a ship. Ships usually have like a special coat of paint on the bottom, which I think is meant to discourage barnacles from building up, I think. It's been a long time since I've paid attention to nautical stuff, but what's here is nice. There's some really nice molding along this thing, too. Both technical details and things like portholes and these giant cannons that make it seem huge, which puts it completely out of scale with a robot cheetah. I'm particularly fond of the underside here, how they left the props blank, or not blank, but like they didn't paint the blue over the props so they stand out a little bit. I kind of like that. And on the other side, it's pretty much the same deal except some pinholes and then this big plank here. And yeah, it's fine for what it is. And there you've got the bridge section that also makes this thing look huge. So again, I don't know how it would possibly fit on Cheetor, but it is what it is. Got the maximal symbol on the front there. And overall, pretty cool for what it is. Like, it's definitely lumpy. It's, kind of needs to have these bits kind of sheared off the side here so that it's a bit smoother looking, but not terrible. And it's got this big anchor on the back. And yeah, truth be told, the whole reason I decided to start in on this just a little bit, not going to get the whole line, but, I wanted to get Cheetor and there are a couple others, is because I feel like as simple as they are, they would look pretty freaking awesome with a little bit more paint. I'm actually looking forward to doing some panel lining on Sea Fury here and maybe painting the guns, getting a little bit more detailing in there, and then doing some stuff to Cheetor. I just think it'd look pretty cool. So getting Sea Fury out of the way just for a moment so we can look at Cheetor. I actually really like this Cheetah Mode. It's very simple and it totally looks like the robot's just on all fours, but this works really well for me. There are a few tricks to the transformation that actually help to differentiate it a little bit, like the legs kind of going, boom, 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 and the torso elongating. It's cool, and it's a neat little stylized cheetah. I like how he's got this, like, flatter, angular head, the more kind of slim, angular body, the little shoulder pauldrons, which are totally for the robot mode, but I think it works in the cheetah mode, too. Just enough spots on the arms and legs to get the point across. Could use some more, but for what it is, it's fine. And like I said, I just think it pulls it off really well. It's got some nice molding, like the segmented tail that can't really bend too far, but you can see there's like a little notch carved into it so it can sit like that, presumably in cheetah mode. And some molding along the sides, which we will also see in robot mode. Weirdly, some molded detail on the insides of the backs of the legs, sure. And just some lines along the sides there and then the top. And I like this kind of segmented spine effect that they've got going there. For the forelegs, it's obvious robot biceps and things of that nature, but I think it's actually kind of clever how they did the forearm transformation where you just turn it around and then flip out the fists. So you can kind of see how this is supposed to work with that rotating around, but that fills it in okay. And it's got some pretty nice claw details there, and it's actually got a little bit of like an ace stance thing going. And he does look good just kind of sitting, not sitting, but like, in like a little hunched over stalking position. And that head, I really, really like the cheetah head. I do kind of want to go in there and paint the nose black, but it looks good. The black trim around the yellow eyes help the eyes stand out, and it's just overall great. Like I said, I really like that stylized look. The underside is gappy and hollow, but that's kind of for a reason. And yeah, Cheetor's Cheetah Mode is, as I said, it's actually pretty slick. I legitimately, no exaggeration or joke, actually like the Cheetah Mode. Bring Sea Fury back in here real quick so that we can do those requisite size comparisons. Here they are with a standard deluxe, and I guess it's not really a surprise to see that they're smaller than a deluxe, because that's, I think, kind of the point of this particular size class. This is sort of the, this is like the middle ground, I think, in the Cyberverse Spark Armor line, where you've got the smallish, like the small ones that have the armor that you just pull apart and put back on. It's all parts forming. Then you've got the mid-tier ones that have some kind of, like, you peg it on and move it around, and as you move it around, it automorphs into position with little to no parts forming. And then you've got the enormous ones like that Optimus Prime that looks really cool armored up, but I am not paying $50 for that. That has kind of a combination of parts forming and automorph, and is also massive. But yeah, this pretty darn cool. And here they are with the duck tank. All right, with all the size comparisons out of the way, the only thing left to do is transform Cheetor into his robot mode. And because this is one of the simpler lines, I'm just going to walk through it. So, first thing, just going to move that tail out of the way and straighten out the legs, and then these bits fold around and kind of soft click into place. Bring it down, this soft clicks. This one clicks harder than this one, but they still, like, both hold just fine. And then fold out these heels. And for some reason, they actually molded detail on the undersides of the heels. It's cool that it's there, I guess. I just don't get it. And now he is standing up, and we don't even have to adjust the camera because he's rather small. So I'm going to rotate the forelegs around and then flip out the fists, and I'm going to need to do something to these hands because this one in particular likes to get knocked in really quickly, or really easily. So now we've got this monstrosity. Next thing we want to do is take the back panels off, and I find the easiest way to do that is to just push up from the inside here. Just push that, and that will make that unpeg, and then if you just keep pushing, you'll pop this whole section back. And then this folds in, and you can see there's like a little slot there that this tab will sit in. It doesn't like peg in, it just kind of sits there, but that gets that panel out of the way. And then the panel that the robot mode head is sitting on, you want to rotate that up part way. And then rotate this upper torso section down until it kind of settles into place. Fold down the cheetah head. Then we can rotate the head all the way up, and that little tab will sit in there. And then fold up the back panel, and I find that it's best to kind of pull forward on the head a bit when putting the back panel into place to make sure that it goes underneath this platform that the head sits on, to just kind of keep it up as opposed to leaning slightly back. And that's it. That is Cheetor in his robot mode, and I actually really like this robot mode. It's a simple transformation and a simple figure, but this is actually surprisingly well done. It looks like Cheetor to me. Yeah, he could definitely use more spots in places, and I definitely want to go in and do some coloring on like the shins and knees and stuff, but this looks like Cheetor. And I dig the kind of bigger shoulder pauldrons, the almost gauntlet-like forearms that are going here with like these little bits that kind of poke past the elbow. You get a little bit more, I mean, it was there before, but like you could see it better now, the kind of not spot detailing, but this black detailing on the orange and the fronts of the thighs. Nothing on the back, though. I mean, there's molding there, it's just not painted. And that kind of also calls to mind the spots, even though it's more of like a tech detail. The proportions are actually pretty nice. It's a solid Cheetor figure. It's It's weird to me that this line has produced a shockingly solid Cheetor. I don't know. I don't get it, but I like it. Looking at the details, the feet are just the rear paws, only straightened out now. And some of this detail, like it was all visible in the Cheetah mode, but now it's much more prominent. And it's molded nicely. I just feel like it could, use some more coloring in there, some gold perhaps in a few places. There's that molding I was talking about and coloring on the thighs, a little bit of molding on the inside for what that's worth. The cheetah head, in this case, folds all the way down to make the torso a bit more clean. It doesn't quite sit in all the way. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or if it's not supposed to. Whatever. The only gripe I have with this is this spot up here. This whole plank area is both a little bit plain and you get this big visible spring. That's a little bit of a shame, but it's a relatively inexpensive, I don't want to say cheap, but, not as intricately made figure as, say, Siege or Studio Series. So, it's fine. It's just a little disappointing if we're going to nitpick, and that's what I'm going to do. The arms, as I said, I actually really like these arms. I like the kind of spiky shoulder pauldron look that they've got going here. The little robotic bicep details, and I love this kind of spiky elbow gauntlet thing that's happening here. For some weird reason, he's got an Autobot logo on his shoulder, and I mean that was visible in Cheetah Mode too, but I don't quite understand why he's got the Autobot logo here, and then Sea Fury has the Maximal logo here. I feel like if anything, the Beast Wars character should have the Maximal logo, and the Transformers Cyberverse armor should have the Autobot logo, but I don't know, maybe it's just how it is in the show. Going around the back, it's a really clean transformation. I love how there's like no kibble. Yeah, he's got a tail, but it's Cheetor. The only thing that kind of could potentially be seen as a problem is the way the tail just kind of floats there. Me personally, doesn't bother me at all, but I do kind of wish that this could fold up more to kind of get out of the way in some cases. But I think it works just kind of sitting there. Like he's, more robot than Cheetah in this mode, but he still has that little bit of a tail. That's amazing to me how there's like virtually no kibble on him. He's got heel spurs and the backs of his fists have cheetah claws on them, and that's it. There's even some nice detailing in here. A little plain on the upper torso, but I like how they kind of keep these lines going all the way around to the back. And then the tail, the segmented tail bit actually goes up and becomes his spine. It's a cool little detail. As I said, it's just surprising to me how this inexpensive kids toy line, I know they're all kids toys, yes, but it's impressive to me how this line out of all of them managed to pull off such a cool Cheetor. Speaking of such a cool Cheetor, let's talk about this head. My god. Aside from the Beast Wars masterpiece, this is like the best looking Cheetor head I could think of right now. Granted, I'm not an enormous Cheetor fanboy. I don't have a bunch of Cheetor toys. I think I owned the original Beast Wars figure back in the day, and that was it. But this is a shockingly solid Cheetor head. It's got that telltale helmet shape, the telltale kind of robot Tiger Man face. Well, robot Cheetah Man face in this case. Color's nice. It's got nice green eyes. It shouldn't work this well in the, I guess, budget line, but that is a shockingly solid head. Definitely could use some more detailing in the helmet, and it's a little hollow in the back, but that's, for what it is, it's fine. But I'm really impressed. I keep saying that, but as a standalone figure, this Cheetor is pretty freaking sweet. If they made this guy available as a standalone for like $10, I'd be happy. It's really cool. All right, let's move him off to the side. I probably don't need to move him back that far because he's rather tiny. There we go. And let's do our size comparisons. So here's Cheetor with a standard deluxe, and he's not that much shorter. Just a little bit shorter at the head. Granted, yes, way more bulk and weight on this guy, but he's a surprisingly good height. I keep being impressed by this figure. And here he is with the duck tank. Alright, with that out of the way, there is one thing I want to do before I move on to the Spark armor. I posted this on Instagram, but I don't know if everyone got to see it. I actually kind of dig how the way that the figure's designed, you can totally do like a original Beast Wars homage, to where you just don't fold down the cheetah head, and you can just have him with the cheetah head sticking out of his chest like the original toy. For some reason, that just amuses me a lot. All right, so keep that folded down, and we will do the spark armor thing. So just gonna make sure his tail's down and out of the way, then bring in Sea Fury. And for Sea Fury, all we're gonna do is turn it upside down. These pegs will go into the back here. Shove that in, and this loves to come off. Okay, so with that as it is, I need to readjust here just so we can see what I'm doing. All right, I have to pull this up and start to pull this up, and you can kind of see how this is gonna go, kind of. And let's raise this up just a little bit more. And now, as this hinge moves forward, this hinge isn't connected to anything, like, really, but as you move this forward, these will start to come down. And those will form the larger arms for the spark armor. And then this panel comes down, and this little peg bit here goes into the waist section right under the cheetah nose. And that holds everything nice and solid. Then the anchor swings down. Unpeg the elbows. They do actually peg into place. Not super solidly, but enough to, not bend on their own. So you want to unpeg those. And you can maybe rotate them out a little bit. Rotate the other arms out a little bit. And there we have Cheetor with his spark armor. I actually like this a lot. It's a fun gimmick. I kind of dig the enormous extra arms. I know some people prefer to hide the robot mode arms, and there are ways to do that. Like, if you wanted to, you could kind of bend them back and rotate. Like, I know Emgo did this on his video too. You could rotate those around. Oh, also, just there. We'll arrange it that way to keep it out of the way. But yeah, you can kind of angle him back like that to make it look like he's got big arms instead, and that's fine. And I totally understand why some people would want to do that. I myself kind of expected that I'd want to do that when I first got my hands on this figure, but now that I have him, I'm actually perfectly content with the forearm look. I think that actually looks pretty cool. It's like he's got some kind of enormous exosuit on. I dig the mixture of colors here too, where it's like you've got this gray and darker gray for Sea Fury, but then that blue is the same blue that you see in his shins and his face, which granted his face is covered with a new helmet, but still, those blues kind of tie everything together, and blue and orange always work well together. And this just looks neat. Like, there's, aside from what's going on up here, which we'll look at in a second, and like right in the chest there's no new details. It's just changed around in the way it's positioned, and it's neat. The only gripe I have with regards to like the mechanics of this mode is the arms can't go out, and the robot mode legs, particularly the thighs going in and out, are a little bit loose. So I'm going to want to tighten those up. You can see what I'm talking about there. I'm going to want to go in with some floor polish, maybe tighten it up a little bit. But other than that, this is actually really cool. Looking at those new details that are revealed, there's this big kind of nautical looking control panel on the chest there, which is nicely detailed, but definitely could do with some actual color to kind of pull all the details out. He also has cannons and guns on the shoulders. Again, kind of weird because it makes it seem like this Cheetor is just enormous, wearing a battleship as a coat, which is kind of funny, but sure, why not? And then there's the head that is basically Cheetor's face run through a, I guess, knife filter to add lots and lots of points. And it's colored nicely with that blue in the crest there, some silver accents, blue in the face with the green eyes to kind of tie into the regular robot mode head. And I also like how it's sort of a jaggedy version of Cheetor's head that is also a scuba mask, which kind of works because, battleship. It's a nautical thing, kind of. Nautical-ish. It's a neat set. I keep saying that, but this is a really cool set, and I like that the head can still rotate. I mean, that's because it's just a hollow shell that sits over top of the robot mode head, but still, it's cool. It does make the head sit up a little high from the shoulders, but when you look at everything together, it still works for what it is. In terms of the articulation, as I said, like, it kind of bums me out that you can't really move the arms out. There is a way to remedy that, kind of. Basically, you have to take the armor off again, so I'm going to do that real quick. Essentially, what you do is, instead of pegging this into his back, you just put this over like you are just dropping it on, push this in so that it tabs into his front there, and then you can just kind of angle this down like that. And so what that'll do is the mechanism that allows the arms to move up is tied to this panel back here. So by not locking that in place, you can actually raise it up a little bit to allow his arms to move out. As you can see, the armor doesn't sit super well on his body if you do that, but if all you're looking to do is have him, spread his arms out a little bit so that he looks cooler in a pose, it works. And it's not particularly distinguishable that, things aren't properly attached when you do it this way. So, yeah, if you just want to be able to move the arms out, there you go. The way it's designed, you really can't move one arm up more than another because they're going to spring up to be in the same position. But let's see, there's those legs. But it's cool that you can do that. I like that a lot. I'm going to peg this back in just for stability's sake. But as I said, you do have a way to angle those arms out if you want to get a little bit more posing going. Definitely not as solid as when you've got everything completely clicked in, but I will still take it. I like having that option. All right, let's put his armored self back there for size comparisons, because he is a little bit taller with this on. Here he is with the standard deluxe, and with the spark armor on, he definitely looks a bit beefier and a little bit taller now. And here he is with the duck tank. So that's it for Cyberverse, Spark Armor, Cheetor, and Sea Fury. It's, as I said, it's actually a surprisingly neat set. I think it's fun to mess with. I think it looks cool. And even without the armor, that Cheetor figure as a standalone is pretty great. I'm really looking forward to doing some additional paint detailing on this because it's kind of awesome for what it is. That's not to say that every figure in this line is going to be like that. I can't say, and I'm not going to get every single figure in this line, but this particular figure, I'm really happy with it. But that's enough about what I think of Cyberverse Spark Armor Cheetor. That's a lot of words. What do you all think of this figure? Have any of you out there been keeping an eye on the Cyberverse line or collecting the Cyberverse line? How do you feel about them on the whole versus, say, the other lines that are out right now like Siege and Studio Series? How do you feel about the Spark Armor gimmick itself? Is there certainly some that I've seen, like, say, Starscream, that I'm just like, no, thank you, but then others actually look pretty darn cool. And if you are familiar with the Cyberverse line and or the Spark Armor stuff, which figures do you think I should be taking a look at? Because when I got him, they actually had Shockwave there, and I was initially tempted to get him, but then the product shots on the back made him look really stupid, but then I watched a video on Shockwave, and I think he actually looks really cool in, the real world as opposed to Hasbro's terrible product shots. So I kind of want to go back and get Shockwave when I can. And like I said, the giant prime that they have looks really cool, but there's no way I'm paying $50 for that. But whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. And while you're at it, also feel free to like, subscribe, or if you're feeling generous, you could buy me a coffee. Any of those things would make me a happy Rob. And remember, art is more than meets the eye.